Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can all hear me. This is Nosa Capital coming to you on a rather cool evening from the Southern Hemisphere. I don't have to tell anyone here, if you're here at all, that things have got quite interesting on the markets, so that's crypto markets, in fact, the financial markets in general. And everything has been attributed to Mr. Donald Trump, or as we like to jokingly call him here, we say El Trumpo, the President of the United States. And with all the whole battles on tariffs and everything else, and it's kind of got the markets all shaken up. And everybody, there's some level of panic in some areas and some not. I can see many a trader out there sort of being extremely happy because this is a lot of buying opportunities. Some have already bought some stuff on the way down, yours truly included, and waiting to see the final end of where this whole thing would go. Anyway, let's not waste any time. Let's just do some rough and ready stuff. I'm going to do things a little bit different today. This is not the usual rough and ready, so I'm just kind of playing around with things here to see what they look like. And let me start off using okay. Oh, excuse me. As I said, it's a bit cold, and I think the flu is gradually creeping in on some people. My apologies for that. Let's start off with, so I was going to start off with the anchored VWAP, but no, let's start off with some moving averages. So let's get a couple of EMAs on there. Let's put about 2. Okay. Smart money's on there. We know we'll talk about the smart money. Let's just hide that for now. And let's see. Let's go for the 21. And let's do this. Let's thicken that up a bit, shall we? That's better. Okay, and let's go for the 34. Now, you may recall that my last video about Bitcoin, I looked at some of these moving averages. As I'm sure many of you know, just one moment, please. Did I thicken that or no? I didn't. As you all know, I generally don't use moving averages, but sometimes in order to explain certain things, it's necessary. So this is on the daily. Let's flip over to the weekly. And you can see. Now, why have I done this? I've done this because most of the time I have generally used the 21 to see the trend going up, but I've used the 34 to see whether it holds so that I don't panic sell or anything like that. So I just kind of look at it, and you can see that the 34 has pretty much held its own in this area here. That's between June of 2024 last year, as well as up to the beginning of September, the middle of September. So I've generally used the 21 and 34. Now, normally when this breaks the 21, you know that the markets are going down. If we hide the 34 for a moment, let's just bring that in a little bit. Yeah, that's better, so we can see. Some of the major drops. Look at it. If you go back to 2021, you can see what happened there. It broke there, and it came all the way down from there. It's about November 2021 all the way to January 2023 before it started recovering. Now look at this area here as well. It dropped but then came back. Now, how would we know of not selling here? What we would have done is that we would have put the 34. And look at the 34. You see, it didn't break the 34. It just kept touching the 34, then went back up. For us here, for instance, like what happened last week now, as you can see, or this week, we can see there's a break. It's now broken that. Hence, if one had bought here, one would have sold somewhere up here, or even before that, because there are other indicators one may have used to sell. Again, like I said in my last video, I have called these areas here in the volume profile, I've called them ice cream scoops. Remember when a friend of mine came up with that, and basically she was saying, you get your ice cream and you take out your spoon and you stick it into the ice cream and pull it out. Makes all sorts of funny shapes. So I started calling these ice cream scoops, these areas here. Not too great on this particular volume profile, this weekly volume profile. But one thing I can say to you is that here there's thin volume here, which means, as I've always told you, when you've got thin volume or scoops like this here, you find that the price action kind of moves very quickly up and down very quickly, and you can see evidence here by these price action oh, for God's sake, what's wrong with me? Candles. I don't know what's wrong with me this evening. Got the candles here, as you can see. So it's broken, so you would be out of the market. Now, if we go back to the daily, let's bring back our smart money so we can see. Remember that I drew a resistance somewhere. I think it was here. There we go. I drew it there, and I said 76 or so, this area here, that if it breaks this area, it could go down the way down to 70. Now it broke it, but it kind of went back. We are not out of danger yet. Again, I go back to the ice cream scoop theory. Look at this area here. It's a nice big scoop. Now, sort of held back by this little bit of area here, which is around at that 76 area. Now, again, I said in my last video that people were talking about breaking, I think it was 82 or 83, and I said no, it's breaking 78. Now, if it breaks that, then we have a situation at hand. And why did I say that? I said that because of what I had here. And look at that, at the 61.8. Look at that. That's an area of support for this. If it breaks here, then we know we're going down to about 70. The next area of support is at 64, 691. So between 65 and 69 here. Remember that these two are buying areas here, which means people buy here. And they overlap. This makes this area a very, very strong opportunity for people to buy. Again, I say, look at this here. If we break 74, we're going down to about 70, maybe 65. But I don't think, except something really dramatic happens, I don't think that we're going to get anything too untoward here or too strange. Why? Because I've warned. Again, I always say to you all the time, look at the ice cream scoops. Look at the ice cream scoops here, there. If until our price action gets away from this area here, we're not necessarily going to have any major respite. We're going to be having to face this all the time. We're just definitely going to have to face it. There's no question about that. Now, in terms of selling, some people that go by daily, that confirmation for selling would have come in the weekly, which I showed you here by breaking the 34. And like I said, I've always used the 34 as a kind of guidance of whether to hold or to break. And so far, so good. This has been holding until recently. Okay. Back onto the daily, we have, as you can, areas of supply, but the most important parts here now the areas of demand here and here. Now the chances of, some people have posited that Bitcoin will come all the way down to 60. I tend to disagree for two key reasons. One, and I've mentioned both reasons. One, we've got a major area of support here at 61.8. Now, if it breaks the 61.8, then one could get concerned. However, I don't believe it's going to get down to 60 because one, we've got almost confirmation here at about the 78.6 at the 64, which is right at the bottom of these two areas of demand. That's number one. Number two, we've got support. And then number three, here, if you look at that area, it's got to break, although it could come down here, it does not have that scoop in these areas as bad as this part here or this part here. So the chance of it breaking below 67 will take a while. I think that immediately it gets into this zone here, buying is going to sort of start up almost immediately. So it's something we should watch out for. I think that Bitcoin will also offer, in fact, it's already offering up some buying opportunities. Those of you who have been fortunate enough to have sold at about 109 and holding on, good luck to you. Some of us, the spot, we've held on, and right now one does some speculation with this. I think that one of the opportunities to speculate here would be playing some perpetuals by taking a position at some kind of low area, and if it hits there, and then pray God that, although praying it's not a strategy, things start going up. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, hope is not a strategy. This is not financial advice. We're just kind of looking at things. And again, it's not the usual rough and ready. We're going to a little bit more detail. I think something that we should look at, I think that is important, and we're going to do that now, is this. Let's have a quick glance at our excuse me, let's look at our liquidation map. As you can see here, there's a left skew. I think that the market makers could be on the hunt. Let's look at the total. That's just on Binance, although we should really look at Binance, but let's just go to the total, which has Binance, OKX, and of course Bybit. We're at 78,494. Like I said, we're not out of danger yet. By going back here, we've seen what's going on, but we still have this area to break. If we break here, I think we might have a pause at about 72 before dropping further if it happens. But I don't think, as I've said earlier, it's going to break this area completely. I doubt that very much. Remember, we are playing with probabilities here, not necessarily exact science on this matter. Now, looking at the heat map, excuse me, this is why I love live. Oh, and please excuse me, this is my very first one doing live. I'm just trying out the software to see if it really works, so please excuse my manners and decorum this evening. Like I said earlier, excuse me again, like I said earlier, it's a bit cold this evening. Okay, so if we look here at this area here, or right at the bottom, beginning here, at 70,473, we've got a cumulative across those three exchanges, a cumulative long liquidation leverage of about 2.63 billion. Now that's a lot of money, which the market makers, if they can take it from people, they're going to take it. That means that they're going to make sure that people got liquidated. I've often said to people, be very careful how you trade, particularly when it comes to positions. Let's look over on the other side, on the sell side, the short side. And it's about 87,264. We've got about $1.8 billion of liquidation leverage. These are areas waiting to be tapped into. Now, you as a trader, as a retail trader, you could easily play your perpetuals by getting in at around 70,000 and then trading it up and taking profits at about 80 something thousand or 80,000, depending on your risk, the strength of risk, your risk aversion, should I say. So that depends on that. And it will be interesting to see how people react. You've got something similar on Solana, but let's finish Bitcoin first and then we come to Solana. So let's see. Let's go to Solana. I think we can jump to Solana now. Now, last night was extremely interesting. I was up with a friend of mine who were looking at the markets and how things were looking. So that's on the daily chart. Let's look at what it looks like on the weekly. And you can see here, look at the confirmation. It's broken the 34 here, and then you could have gotten out at about 177, something like that. You could easily have gotten out here, around this area here. Okay, let's have it before we go on. You know what? Let's quickly go back to Bitcoin. I forgot to mention Bitcoin. Where could we have gotten out of? We could have gotten about 80,000. Yeah, something around here, about 80,000. Depending on when you got in, of course. You might have even got out earlier. Particularly if we go back to the daily. Let's have a quick look at the daily. You could have got out at about, almost 100,000 if almost 100,000 or 99,000, something like that. You could have got out if you played this card. I don't particularly enjoy it. Like I said, I don't like trading with moving averages. It's quite dangerous. But let's see, just before I forget, let's put there. That's the anchored VWAP, volume weighted average price. And then let's see, okay. And this is where around this area, this is when the price action has gone beneath the anchored VWAP. And this is when you know that we're now in a full bearish market here, as you can see, because now the price action is beneath it. That means that the sellers are in control here, and it's pretty much confirmed with the level of the volume that you see here. Now, let's bring in. Do I have it on there? No. Let's bring in one more indicator, but this time it's one of the volume indicators. And that, what I love about this, is, let's remove that and let's just adjust this nicely. This, at a glance, as you can see, tells you, oops, oh no, wrong thing to move. Let's put this back. It's not what I wanted to do. There we go, yep. Okay, good. Excuse me. As you can see, this tells you the buying. At a glance, you can see the buying and selling. That's the volume. And right now, there's more buyers. There's just a little bit more buyers than sellers on this particular time, which is why you can see here, they're not equal, but you can see that that's a sort of doji right there. As you can see, it's just a doji. So, and one could have played the moving average game. One could have got out about around here. It's about 100, 101. I'm sure those that got out around this area here were kind of smiling that, oh, thank God we got out, or even earlier, because look at that area here. Look at it. Same thing. This is sometimes why I've not really necessarily enjoyed investing with moving average. However, these two moving averages, these are the exponential. They're quite good at showing you things. But anyway, I think enough about Bitcoin. Let's go back to Solana. And we're just going to discuss Solana, maybe look at Sui, and then do a friend a favor, look at MOODENG. That's what we're going to do this evening. Solana, as we can see, look at the day, one could have got out around here. That's about 200 and something here. Let's see. The low was 192, high was 218. So you could go around 206, 207 if you wanted to. Secondly, this indicated here an area of supply, as you can see. Not too bad, but still awkward. So let's look at the weekly. And that's our weekly. And weekly would have shown us that we'd have gotten out around 194-ish, 100 and although, or if you had waited for it to come out completely, you get it around 166. So once between it's 120. Yeah, between 166 and 179 was the high and 124 was the low. But you could have gotten out the minute there was a confirmation of the closing here. You could have gotten out around here. Massive area of supply, as we can see here. Little bit area of demand. Now look at it's coming to the area of demand on the weekly here, and immediately, which starts at we've got area of demand between 78 and 99. But look at it, it's in there. It's already buying. Secondly, you can see at this area here, there's another doji. There's more buying than selling. But really, there's indecisiveness in the market. We shall have to keep our eye open, eyes and ears open on this one to see what eventually happens on this. Okay, I don't think we need to discuss more than that. I think we're all right. One more thing. Let's look at a bit of a left skew on this one, just slightly. Price at 106 at the moment. Some good buying opportunities for those of you, good luck, good job for those who got in at about 90 something, 97, 98. Oh, by the way, if you're asking about yours truly, if you remember some time ago, I talked about 110. I had my 110 set. I think it was at 110. I took a limit buy at 110 for the last, I think about 9, going almost 10 weeks. I think about 9 weeks, between 9 and 10 weeks, I sort of took that position and left it there. I almost cancelled it a few days ago. I was this close. And because it kept coming down to 112 and going back up, 112 and going back up. Okay, I think we can look at that a little bit. So here, what do we have? Let's look at this area here. Our cumulative long liquidation leverage is $274.76 million. And that's at about 94.6. And here at 119, we've got 148.23 million for the cumulative short liquidation leverage. Quite a bit of leverage here. So one could easily say, again, no financial advice, of course, but one could easily say, hey, let's take a perpetual at about 94. If there's an entry at 94, 93, and take profit at about 115, 116, 117, something like that, and maybe 119 even, and just ride it. I think that the way to go would be to trade more of the long-term perpetuals, like the daily perpetuals, or maybe even weekly perpetuals. Be careful of your leverage. Try and keep your leverage at most 10%. If you go in, I've noticed something on some of the platforms. When you start putting large money and you've got more than 10% leverage, they come looking for you. They try to stop you out. So just keep an eye on that. Watch your leverage positions, and I think that you'll be fine. Okay, let's have a look at SUI. Again, down to the daily. This one's even clearer than the last two. Looking at the moving averages here. And look at that, from September last year, you could have just ridden it all the way up to about here. I've got that's about $4.36. Look at how the 34, this is the white one here. Look at how the 34 held it together. This is a much better demonstration of what I've been trying to tell you about. And look at when it crossed over. Look at how the 34 has kept it honest on the way down. So it might be an idea, actually, to trade some of these things this way. On the volume here, massive volume here, trying to bring it back up, as you can see. I recommended I think last week, anything under $3. Sorry, anything under $2, what I said. But anything under $3, you're still in very good shape. There is an area of supply here, which is between 260 and 283. So it's quite a while. I mean, you could get in here and make some, I believe that you could get in now and stack some SUI. Not too late. Let's have a look at the weekly. Again, the weekly confirmed at about just over $3. There. We go back to the daily just quickly. Let me have a quick. Just thought about it. If we take, let's go back to our. Did I remove it completely? Yes, I did. Let's go back and get our volume, shall we? And the technicals, let's look for the volume. There we are. Okay. So let's just look at that. Now, if we look at this area down here, this is where the activity of going up started. So if we take around this position here, this is where it really started. So we take it from around here. Or let's take it from around here. Just around where it starts crossing over. And that's our anchored VWAP. Right across there, as you can see. Definitely sellers are now in control as the price action is below the anchored VWAP. The price is also under both the 21 EMA as well as the 34 EMA. So that's also the next confirmation. Let's look for areas of support. Let's say, should we take it from here? Let's go to here. Wow. We've got an area of support at $1.73 right here, as you can see. Our area of demand is quite low, down at about 79. So we're not going to, 74 around down here. So we're not going to worry too much about that. I doubt that SUI would fall to that level. Not bad, is it? Not bad at all. Let's go back to our weekly. Oh, before that, look at this area here. We have to be very careful. Nice little bit of an ice cream scoop here. And we have to be very careful by looking at this area here. So it's a selling area. So I wouldn't be surprised that if we get a price going up and comes back. Again, if you look at this area, if you look at this point on the Fibonacci at the 61.8, it's almost acting like an area of resistance in this area. Look at that. It's like it's come broken, it's trying to go through, it's tried to break through, and it's come back again, tried again, and then it's gone all the way down. So to the 78.6. So yeah, you could say that about 251, we could have a little bit of a resistance of the price going back up. Again, ladies and gentlemen, everything is on probabilities, and time will tell. Okay, let's go back to the weekly. Let's have a look. Look at that right there. Look at the anchored VWAP right in the middle of both the 21 and the 34 EMA. Going by the 21 EMA, you probably have got that around here, which is about $3.17, something like that. If you had gone by this, I think one should watch SUI carefully, maybe even trade it directly from what we could see in the daily. Maybe trade it there. Maybe trade it using the daily that way. I must admit I haven't traded SUI. I've just accumulated. I've just stacked it. I didn't trade it. So again, if trading, one could wait. If it comes down to about 173 and it holds, one could then sort of trade a perpetual to about 251 or maybe even 305. Who knows? Okay, All right, let's go to, okay. Now, should I, we've looked at SUI. I don't want to look at BNB and Ethereum. Ethereum is just, let's have a glance at Ethereum. Boring. I didn't want to do it, but let's just have a look and see what we get. Let's go back to the daily. Ethereum, as you can see, it is just area of supply, area of supply, area of supply, area of supply, area of supply. Look at it on the way down. The 34 is pretty much held from about this area here all the way down. Looks like it's trying to fight its way back, but not. I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, Ethereum, I'm just not inspired by Ethereum at all. And I think from my voice, I think you can pretty much figure out that I'm not too keen. But let's just have a look. Let's take it from here. Let's use this. There's quite a bit of volume there. Let's just go from here. Definitely sellers now in control. Price action below the 34 and 21, and the 34 has pretty much kept the price action honest by keeping it acting almost like an area of resistance. If we just go from here, let's just try this from here all the way to here. With an area of resistance, is broke. Actually, it is broken the area of support at about 78.6 at 2096. And it's coming all the way down. I mean, by the time you add other bits and pieces of Fibonacci, you'll be able to tell where it is. There's a weak low there. No area of demand at all. And many of the pundits are saying that things are difficult. I must admit, I'm one of those who have been bridging Ethereum into Solana, particularly through USDC. So, after a quick glance at the weekly, what do we have? Just an ugly chart. And the weekly, this is more or less like a sideways trade. Hardly inspiring at all. Volume profile fairly even. Oh, and there is an area of demand which ranges between 1,073 and 1,234. I won't be surprised if it comes all the way down to that area. It might be a buying opportunity for those who want to speculate. Who knows? Maybe even take a couple of perpetuals on it. Who knows? So I think but that's all I want to say. That's all I want to say about Ethereum. And finally, I'm just going to look at MOODENG. So that let's just remain as we've always. Let's just put one meme coin in there. Let's go down to the daily for MOODENG so we can get more data. And as we can see, MOODENG also is kind of nice. Look at that area here. 34 keeping it honest. And then from here onwards, it's just downhill. If we use our anchored VWAP here, as you can see, look at that, broke here. Or even some professional traders would have traded this using the anchored VWAP, initially acting as a little bit of support, and then it broke through, and then you could have traded at about 30. Depending on, that would depend on where you bought it, of course. For those of you who, unfortunately, bought at a high level and have held all the way down, you're going to be very patient. You're going to have to be very, very patient. One doesn't know when, if it will ever come back at all. The altcoin season everybody was talking about, I thought it was the meme coin. The meme coin season more or less acted as the altcoin season, if you ask me. So, I think that's just really it. I think that I think we can stop there in terms of analyzing any more crypto. I don't want to do Binance and all that. I'm just not in the mood for those. But what I was going to say is that, look, you're going to have to be very patient for the market at the moment. Look for buying opportunities. And try to see how low the market can go. And once it settles down, you can then begin to buy. I mean, some people use let's go there. Let's have a look. The SMA 200, simple moving average. And let's change that to 200. Let's see. Let's just have a quick look at what it does across the board. And let's go. Should we go green? No, let's go lighter. Green. Let's thicken it up. Okay, we can't even get anything on this. There's not enough data for this. Let's drop it down to the 4 hour. Let's see if we got enough data. Okay, we do. On the 4 hour chart of MOODENG. It's broken the 200 daily. So I think it's going to be a while before. Let's hide this. No, wrong thing. Okay, we can hide that. Let's just remove some of the clutter. Let's hide this volume here. Let's just hide that for now. And this one we can collapse that. Okay, that's better. Give us a little bit more room to see things. And there we have it. Again, we didn't have enough data on the daily or the weekly, so I went down to the 4 hourly to see what the 200 day. Remember, people always tell you that if it's under the 200 day moving average, then it's you have to wait for it to go above the 200 day moving average. So we've seen that for MOODENG. Let's go to SUI. Let's have a look at what SUI looks like. Let's go to the daily. So we set that again. Also, SUI is under the daily 200 moving average, as you can see here. Let's hide a few things. Let's hide the smart money concepts. We can leave the rest. And as you can see, so what will happen generally is you are normally advised to wait until the price action goes above the 200 day moving average, and then you start buying. So at least you know what to do when getting back into the market. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's go to... Okay, let's just have a look at Ethereum. I'm not just as my friend would say, out of courtesy. Let's look at Ethereum. As you can see, Ethereum is well below. In fact, it fell way below as far back as February of this year. The beginning of February, under the 200-day moving average. It's going to be a while before that gets back above that. But you never know with these markets. The Ethereum team might come up with something, and then suddenly the price starts blasting up. And that's what it is. Anyway, let's go to Bitcoin and see. And Bitcoin has just gone under the 200-day moving average here. As you can see, this is the green line here. And getting back into Bitcoin, one could actually wait. If you go by the normal rules of trading and investing, people say wait till it goes above, wait for the price action to go above the 200, and then you get confirmation that it's above the 200, and then you get back into the market. So we'll see how that fares. Anyway, as I've said before, be patient. The market at the moment is going to require serious patience. We have World War III knocking at the door. Things starting off in Ukraine, not to mention what's going on in West Asia with the Americans as well as the Iranians and the Houthis. Who knows? I mean, we all sort of keep our fingers crossed that there'll be no war. But as we all know by now, Lord knows that many of the warmongers themselves definitely want some kind of war. But anyway, let's pray God that doesn't happen. Okay, I think that is me. Let me know if you enjoyed this version of Rough and Ready Crypto Analysis, and if you like my live broadcasts. As I said, I just tried it out. This is my very first one. It's more of me just trying out the technical things. I haven't really invited anyone to watch, but if you like it, please like, subscribe, please, that helps me a lot. And please let me know what you think, and please leave some constructive comments. I'd be very much, and when you leave them, I very much answer those comments. Unfortunately, we've got too many bots out there that are kind of getting in the way, but I will answer some very good. If you write a very good question, I'd be very happy to discuss it with you. Anyway, that's me. So as always, keep your eyes and ears open and your trading sharp. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.